In grateful appreciation to All Saints Church, Chevy Chase Parish, for assistance in acquiring this site and this building for St. Anne's Chapel, building dedicated Palm Sunday, April 15th, 1962. This plaque sits on the back side of the church next to the gray door that some of you have started coming in as we are having to play musical chairs with our parking arrangement over the summer. As I've learned from some of the older parishioners, this gray door was actually the first entrance into the church back when this building was built and St. Anne's existed as the church and the building behind me. But I am at this plaque today and thinking about this connection to All Saints because I'm thinking about what it means to be a good neighbor. We'll hear in Luke chapter 10 this week in our gospel reading on Sunday the great story of the Good Samaritan. When Jesus is asked what the greatest commandments are, and he poses that question back and is told to love God and to love neighbor, he's then further asked who our neighbor is. And it's in that context that Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan. And I think that's a story that so often bears repeating because it's always a question before us. Who is our neighbor? And how do we most fully love and care for our neighbor? These are questions that I've raised over the course of my tenure here at St. Anne's, and I think it's a question that will always and forever remain in front of us, because the reality is that the world around us and the community around us changes and is always changing. Even in the last 10 years, the Clarksburg corridor has changed so dramatically that a sense and a definition and a concept of who our neighbor is there is radically different than it was just a few short years ago. And to be fair too, just on the other side of this building, when we think about our new construction with the senior housing project, that too will present a whole new context, a whole new definition, a whole new idea of who our neighbor is. But I also think about that more broadly, because this week, as some of you may know, representatives from the entire Episcopal Church, folks from all over the country and even our international diocese, will be gathering together just up the road in Baltimore for our 2022 General Convention. And a question before them will be, who is our neighbor? The question before us as a church is, who is our neighbor? And the question before us as Christians of all denominations, of all varieties, is always and forever, who is our neighbor? And we hear in the story of the Good Samaritan the perfect concept, the perfect instruction for how it is that we are to be in relationship with our neighbor and how we are to love them, even those neighbors that we don't quite get along with or like very much. So this week, as we prepare to enter our Sunday worship again, I encourage you to think once more on this question of neighborliness. But I invite you to think about it more expansively this week. Who are we as a people of God, as the Episcopal Church? Who are we as neighbors to those who are not us? Who are we as neighbors to the world around us? How do we as a faith tradition live into the call of the Good Samaritan? And I invite you to reflect on that question yourself, but I invite you also to be in prayer and in constant prayer for the work that the representatives of our church will do together in this time, as they gather together and discern God's will for us as a people, for us as a community, and for this particular branch, as Bishop Curry likes to say, of the Jesus movement. So blessings, friends, again this day and always.